Hello everyone, and welcome back to John Bill's Iconic Motor Mods. Okay, since the last video, I've actually prepared ribs 16, 17, 18, and 19. Okay, so if you joined me on the last video, you know I kind of work in like a 5 rib system. So because I've cut the feet off of these ribs, I actually use the feet of the 5th rib, which would have been rib number 20. But unfortunately, part 2, we actually get 2 parts to make up rib 20, so I'm missing a piece. So I'll have to carry on that stage in pack 3. But there's still plenty I can be doing on the Constitution in a minute, so I'll just take them back out. So okay, so I've started to prepare this deck above. So I've pretty much cut him exactly as I did in the last video, but obviously now, rather than having a 16mm space between the gaps, we've now got a 25mm space. So as we go up the decks, the spaces get slightly bigger, only on the outer edge. The middle one is still the same, but then the outer edge goes up to 25. So I'm going to be attaching them in this video. And also how I actually fastened this bottom deck down, I just use these little like deck clamps, and I'll show you how I use them a little bit later in the video. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to do, we actually get this this bow former, and we don't actually attach this until pack 4, but I'm actually going to attach it now. There's no reason not to, and that's just going to help keep this keel kind of in place, and it's just going to start to help lock in some of the positions of these ribs. So it's got right on the center one. It's going to go down right down the middle of the false keel, and I'm going to glue it into the steps of this first rib. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is just glue that in place. And put plenty on this rib. Now we can just squeeze that down and just take the paintbrush and then just clean off some of the excess. Okay, so for me, model shipbuilding is quite important that you tend to use quite a lot of plastic pans. It just keeps things kind of held in the correct position while you were waiting for things to dry. So what I'm going to do, as long as you've got them spaces between ribs 1, 2, 3 and 4 on both sides, we can kind of put a plastic band on rib number 4 into the false keel, and then over to the starboard side and do the same. And all that's just going to do is just going to pull everything all nice and tight, and it's also just going to keep that bow former in place while it dries. I'll just put a little clamp either side, just where it's gluing. Okay, so that's that in place, and we don't, like I say, we've got some more parts that we add that's going to form the bow, but like I say, they don't tell you to add that until pack 4 or pack 5, but I'll probably do that later on. But I just wanted to get this in place early, just because, like I said, it just helps to keep that keel, false keel, should be running absolutely dead in line with the foremast. So now we can start adding these deck support beams to the deck above, and these have been made out the original pieces of timber that I cut to create the first ribs way back from the first video. So I'm actually going to start all the way over at number 10. It's a lot different this way to when I actually make the ribs first and I've glued them in. These are a little bit more floating, so we can put these in any way we want. So I'm going to go 10 and then kind of move my way back down. Same again, we've got a little bit of glue on the top, on the face and on the bottom. Obviously you don't want to put any on the sides. We can slide that into the number 10 rib. I'm just going to use a little bit of wood just to make sure it's flush, and then take off a little bit of the excess glue, mainly if any's coming down on this top surface. And then same again, so I can take elastic band across 10 and then just pull them nice and tight, and that'll just pull that rib together while the glue dries. Okay, so all I've got to do now is just pretty much repeat that process all the way across. Okay, so I've glued in all these support frames and I've let them have a couple of hours to dry, so now we can kind of move up the deck and put the cross support members in all the little channels. Well, before I'm going to do that, I'm just going to take this little spacer and I'm going to move it up and put it directly across where them deck support beams are on both sides. Same again, I'm just going to take another elastic band from rib number 9 and just take it across until it's kind of pulled taut, which works out about rib number 3. And all that's doing is just this rib there, that's just pulling that up nice and tight against the other one, so we know we've got a correct space pretty much all the way across, just there, because we want them to be all the equal gap all the way across. Okay, so this is the 3x3. So what I'm going to do now is when I did the deck below, I made it an absolute tolerance of 3mm where these slid with pretty much no play whatsoever. But what I was finding is some of the wood was 2.9 and some of the wood was 3.1. So if you make it in a tolerance and exactly 3mm, and then your wood becomes 3.1, then it becomes quite awkward to slide everything down. So what I decided to do is give myself just probably a 1/4 mil tolerance to let these 3x3 slide down. Okay, so we'll just offer this first one up just to see the fit. So on this, I'm going to go right the way up to number 1 frame. So it is a bit of a squeeze, so that's why I made these little clamps. I found it a lot easier to squeeze them down, so I'm happy with that. So what I did obviously on below is I pretty much cut them halfway across deck number 10, so I'm going to cut halfway across this one, but I think this time on the next one, so again, I'm just going to push it all the way to the end of the first rib, but instead of having it so they're all cut off at 10. I think I'm going to actually cut it halfway down number 9 and have like a staggered joint. I think they'll look a little bit better. So what I'm going to do now is just going to cut these off right down the centre line. Same again, to get my white glue. I'm just going to put a generous amount down every little trough. Now I'm just going to put a little bit right on the end, because that's going to get pushed up right against the first rib. Okay, so that's that one in, and do the same on the next one. So I'm going to try and drop it flush to where it needs to be, otherwise you end up smearing glue backwards and forwards. So put it all the way up there. Let's get that one in. That one's a lot better fit. The first one is a little bit tight. Okay, so now these are what these little clamps are used for. So all I'm going to do is slide them in. Slide it in. Try and hold it best you can. It's a little bit awkward. And then just clamp that little wing nut down. So I'll show you on the model first. All my hands are in the way, and then I'll show you on like a little test rig so you can see it more clear. But that just starts to squeeze all these 3x3s down onto the 5x5s. So do a couple. This is not so bad. Just look for like bad high spots and then feed them into that. If you wonder why I've got one on there, is obviously because that's the first rib. I keep coming across and karate chopping it because I'm left-handed. When I bring something across to the model, I karate chop that. So I put that there, and it's just keeping me from breaking the rib. Okay, so I've just added 5 clamps on that. Put the next 2 3x3s in. They're not actually glued in. All they've done is just laid in the channels ready to be glued in, but I just wanted to make sure everything just keeps in alignment while things are drying. Okay, so I've made up this little test rig, and I'll just get one of these little clamps. I've made them up myself, just a couple of M3 wing nut and an M3 bolt. Just a couple of pieces of walnut with a hole drilled in the middle. So all we're going to do is we feed it through, or if it's too long, which it sometimes they are, and you have to feed it in 2 parts. So I'm going to feed it. This is how it would be positioned on the deck. So I'm going to feed it across that way, and they're going to get the other one that comes down, and that gets fed across the other way. So mix a little bit across, then as we would do, we'll just be clamping down this wing nut. That's how it be held, where it holds across the 5x5s and the freeze. It just clamps it all down until the glue fully dries. Okay, so I have done some work for the foremast. I have actually tapered this one, and this one fits into that mast cap. And that positions nice and dead centre down the keel. So when we get to the next one for the main mast, and we work on the next lot of ribs from 16 to 20, I'll show you how I made that little mast cap, how I tapered the mast to fit the mast cap. So it's probably going to be a while now before I get the next parts. I've got this over 24 months, so I don't think I'm going to get the next pack free until November. So I'll probably just turn my attention back to the 1/23 scale diorama for a month, and then we'll come back to this in November. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you all again on the next video.